How's it going, guys? I'm Vivi and welcome back to some Skylar and Plux. Now PSX 2016 is over. Unfortunately, we didn't get any new footage. But Right Nice Games did say to stay tuned, so maybe we might get something new soon, who knows. But let's look at the bright side. User Kieran on Facebook asked a bunch of questions, and guess what? They replied to all the questions, which is pretty great. And I absolutely love that when it comes to a developer being active with their fans. It's absolutely great. So for this video, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna read the question and then read the reply. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna discuss and pretty much share my thoughts. So with that being said, let's jump right into it, alright? Question number 1 by Kieran. And thanks by the way for sending me this. Hey guys, the game looks awesome. I think it gained popularity thanks to VTNVIVI. Aw, I appreciate it. Here are 3 questions for you. Are there gonna be banjo-kazooie references or Easter eggs? Are you aware of yooka-laylee? And if the game is successful enough, will you guys make a sequel? I hope so. We love VTNVIVI's videos. I really appreciate the fact that you think so. Thanks. It's really fun to hear his thoughts on the game. Yes, there are banjo-kazooie references. Yes, we are aware of yooka-laylee. Together we will bring back the 3D platformers. Yes, if the game is successful, we will look into making a sequel. No plans on that yet though. 100% concentration on adventure on Clover Island. No, we will not be at PlayStation Experience. Kieran had asked the question about PSX, if they were gonna show up, but they didn't. Thanks for the support. Right nice, Leo. Okay, so apparently there are some banjo-kazooie references. The one thing I can think of is the Nintendo cartridge we notice in the Oasis gameplay. Like I said previously, there's going to be a lot of collectibles in the game. And these cartridges right here, they're actually from banjo-tooie. And actually, when I first saw those collectibles, I was like, oh, that's totally banjo-tooie. Anyways, that's the only thing I can come up with when it comes to banjo-kazooie references. Maybe we might see more. Together, they will bring back platformers. What am I gonna say? I'm super happy about that. Now, as for a sequel, it'd be great, honestly. Not only are we going to get more platformers, but a lot of us are going to be happy knowing that the game was successful enough for a sequel. And I wish the best for the company, for the team. But, like Right Nice Games mentioned, there are no plans for now. It's their first project after all, so they're 100% focused on that. Again, if you guys haven't seen my previous videos, if you guys are pretty much new to this video, Skylar and Plux is being developed by a team of 5 people, and this game was originally a school project. To see it gain this much exposure, it's awesome! Alright, so I'm gonna stop repeating myself and let's move on to question number 2. Billy May's impressions, but wait, there's more! 1. Are there also references to Ratchet Clank and Jak and Daxter? The game does look similar to those 2 games, you know? Also, hope the game does well. I wanna look forward to more of this game in its genre. 2. Does Skylar have a voice actress? I'd love to hear Skylar's voice. I bet her voice sounds like a female Shepard from the Mass Effect trilogy, Jennifer Hale, or even Blaze the cat from Sonic the Hedgehog series, Laura Bailey. If she doesn't, how about giving her a voice for the sequel? 1. There are references to Ratchet Clank and Jak and Daxter, smiley face. Those games are awesome and great inspirations. Sometimes we worry that we stepped too close to the sun when making the characters. That was not the intention. We wanted to follow the norms of the platformer genre and made them look similar so that it is easy to recognize what kind of game Skylar and Plux is at first glance. 2. In this game, Skylar is a silent protagonist. Going the Jak and Daxter route with a voice in the sequel would be interesting. I like the idea. Right nice, Leo. Alright, Ratchet Clank and Jak and Daxter references. There are some gadgets in the game that really remind me of Ratchet Clank. There's the jetpack and the grappling beam. Skylar and Plux is pretty much a mix of a collectathon and action-adventure game. It was never their intention to make the characters look way too similar. And about that, their very early footage of Skylar and Plux, Skylar actually looked like Clank with the green eyes. But here's what I think was going on in their minds. Why not introduce a new duo? Why not come up with a game which is a mix of everything? Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, even yooka-laylee. It was never their intention to copy Ratchet and Clank, let's say. A while ago, a lot of people thought that. But here's how I see Skylar and Plux. They got inspired by the stuff that made those games great. And they told themselves, why not in the process come up with a new duo? Why not make the main protagonist a female this time? The team itself mentioned that they were simply inspired. Now let's talk about Skylar. Skylar is apparently a silent protagonist, like Jak 1. For a sequel, they might go with the Jak 2 route. Now here's something I like to say about this whole idea. Jak 1 and Jak 2, they have completely different style of gameplay. I could even make a video talking about it, but not today. Naughty Dog decided to change the gameplay style and guess what? It was a success. A lot of people liked it. I personally prefer the first game in terms of its simplicity and platforming genre. For Jak 2, they quickly introduced guns and cars is. That right there is a huge jump. But if I compare Jak 2 with Jak 3, I prefer Jak 3. Now here's what I wanted to say about your idea, guys. Is it worth taking the risk? And what do I mean by this? Let's assume the game is a huge success, which I hope it will. What if people fell in love with the first game? Yes, although Jak 2 worked, will Skylar and Plux, the sequel, work as well if you guys decide to go with the same route? Like, are you planning on completely changing Skylar if we're talking about a sequel? People who loved the first game, are they gonna like the changes in the sequel? And what kind of changes are we talking about? This brings me to the next question. Okay, at least make Skylar's voice sound like female Commander Shepard from the Mass Effect series. I like to hear a sound like that. And also, maybe use the ideas that were too mature for Skylar and Plux, and maybe even make an adult platformer game similar to Conker's Bad Fur Day with Playtonic Games. Rare developed Conker and the employees left and formed Playtonic Games. Maybe have a chat with the founder of the company? Let me know if you want to make a mature M3D action platformer game with Playtonic Games. Here's their reply. If we make a sequel, we may just make it a little bit more adult, like Jak 2 did. We'll definitely let you know if we speak to Playtonic. Okay, a little bit more adult like Jak 2. What are you guys planning to do if the game is successful? If you plan on coming up with a sequel, do you mean more mature as in completely change the game how Jak 1 did, or more mature as in a darker story? If you guys decide to jump into guns, will it make the game better? Although Jak 2 worked, I said this previously. Is it worth taking the same risk? People might start comparing if you do so. Or maybe not. I'm just saying. Maybe people might be like, oh, they're trying to copy Jak 2 or whatever. But I'm just saying. Here's what I think. A sequel, that's an absolute great idea. Slowly introduce new mechanics. Ratchet and Clank 1, for example. It already had weapons. In the second game, they introduced upgradable weapons. Look, I'm not saying that stay away from guns. Sure, add weapons. We already have a mechanical arm. But is it worth changing the game completely? Jak 1 and Jak 2 is a perfect example. There was a huge jump, right? Yeah, sure, it succeeded. But if you guys decide to change the sequel too much, will people who played the first game and fell in love with it agree with it? In other words, will they start complaining? Sure, make the story darker, make it appealing to an older audience, sure. But never forget what made the first game great. I hope you guys understand where I'm going with this. Anyways, next. As for Skylar voice acting, that'll be a great idea for the sequel. In all of the gameplays we got, we only hear Plux. So yes, Skylar is silent. The first time I saw Skylar, I always imagined her having this deep, serious female voice. Sure, it could be something like the Shepard Commander, but I could also picture her with the voice of Lightning from Final Fantasy XIII. I mean, look at this 2D picture right here. She looks serious. A serious voice would definitely suit her. But some of you might completely disagree. Adding a voice to Skylar for the sequel, that right there, I would already consider it a major change. If you guys decide to make a game which is a bit darker, go for it. More exposure for you guys. If Right Nice Games collabs one day, either being Playtonic, Insomniac Games, or whoever, that'd be insane. Okay, with that being said, let's move on to the next question. Are you guys thinking of collaborating with Playtonic Games someday? Ultra platforming crossover collab development. Also, maybe for a DLC, you can have additional levels. Like Street Fighter V had less characters than the fourth game, but more characters are coming in as DLC form. So maybe more levels in the game as DLC would be a great idea, and maybe even give Skylar a voice as DLC. Here's their reply. We really haven't considered it. I think they have their hands full with yooka-laylee. We're not dismissing the idea though. A collab would be super fun, I agree. But at the moment, we have 100% focus on making Skylar and Plux the best it can be for you guys and gals. We have a few ideas of what to make as DLC, but we don't want to say too much just yet. Although you probably won't hear Skylar talk until the sequel. Right Nice Eric. Who knows what's gonna happen to the future of Right Nice Games? Who knows who they could collab with? As for DLCs, there was a discussion on Twitter a while back. It had to do something with Plux being playable. Here's what was mentioned on their Twitter a while back. The game will only have one playable character. However, we've considered adding more as DLC if people are interested. These days, it seems like they're up for it, judging by their reply. But they're not gonna reveal anything though. For DLCs, I don't mind it too much, as long as the game can be enjoyed enjoyed without it, especially when we're talking about the story. Again, for a sequel, they're not going to talk about anything. For the voice of Skylar, if a sequel ever happens, what voice do you think would suit her the best? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Last question, guys. Lastly, will the cutscenes be CGI or comic book styled stills like Infamous and Sly Cooper? Judging from the E3 trailer, I suspect the comic book stills are the cutscenes that are really important to the story. But then again, you uploaded a picture of Skylar reaching her hand out to the sun. That might be a cutscene where Skylar crash lands on Clover Island. Maybe that's also when the title of the game will show up. Here's the reply. The opening cutscene will give you a hint of CRT's goals, but leave the reason how and why Skylar was kidnapped as a mystery. Throughout the game, Skylar remembers bits and pieces of conversations from her kidnapping and before. The cutscenes will be comic book styled, like Sly Cooper, yes. Aside from that, we have a few short in-game cutscenes that aren't very story heavy, but cinematic nonetheless. Most of the story will unfold as you play the game, by conversations and remarks by the characters. Right, nice Eric. When I first saw the teaser trailer, I knew from the beginning that the game would have comic book style cutscenes. As seen in the trailer, the most we get out of cinematic cutscenes is Plux talking. As for the screenshot right here, Plux is resting. If I'm not mistaken, Right Nice Games had mentioned this on their Twitter page a while ago, and I'm assuming that this takes place after Skylar crash lands on Clover Mountain. If they decide to go with fully animated cutscenes for the sequel, then go for it. It'll look absolutely great. And who knows what's gonna happen to the future of the series. Maybe they might decide to go with full CGI, something like Ratchet Clank PS4. So guys, this is it for the questions. Right Nice Games, thanks for taking the time to answer all of these questions. You guys are great. And again, thank you Kieran. So guys, as usual, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Did you find this video useful? What was the most interesting thing out of all this? Mention everything in the comment section below. And as always, I've been Vivi and thanks for watching.